Hey guys, how you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Good,
How are you,
okay,
Mel?
good. Good. Nice to see you again, Rich and Pete. So you got some more questions for me today. What can we do for you?
We do. Thought we'd start off with a general one.
Yep.
And as you've embarked along your journey, you're a way along now since we've last spoken to you. And we'd like you to tell us 5 things, not necessarily material things,
Yep.
that you've left behind
Yep.
when you embarked on your journey that you were glad to be rid of. And tell us 5 things now that you enjoy as being part of your trip that you wouldn't want to give up.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I can keep it to 5. Yep. All right, let's see. All the stuff to do with stress, busyness, frustration, overwhelm, franticness of life and running businesses and working for other people, I've left behind. Love that. Financial management, always working on a plan of financial management, juggling bills, paying bills, and the logistics of that, the constant, every Friday having to pay bills, the actual physical side as well as the mind management. The hours on the phone with telcos and banks and government departments. Do not miss that one little bit. Waiting for tradies to show up, that don't, all of that. One of the things I think I'm glad I've left behind is a lack of connection with people. I find that Australia is a very disconnected country, and that's a real shame. And I'm not saying everywhere in all places. I think this country is probably more connected than the city in terms of with each other. But this, where you walk down the street and no one makes eye contact with you, no one smiles at you, they're all looking at their phones, everybody's rushed, everybody's busy, trying to catch up with a friend can take weeks, organising and scheduling well in advance to have human contact. I'm very glad to have left that, and that's really sad, I think.
In Portugal and Spain, where you are now?
Every city has it a little bit to some degree, but if anything, it's quite the opposite for the locals, I think. They walk into a supermarket to buy food and they're stopping to talk to people all the time. And sometimes, they get frustrated that there's almost too much interference. Sorry?
People they know?
Yeah. So, it used to happen to me if I went into the supermarket, the same supermarket, I'd bump into someone I know because I'm a social and chatty person. But here, it's just, by comparison to Australia, it is off the charts. And I caught up with a friend for lunch yesterday, and a woman walked up to him and was talking, and, we didn't end up having any time to talk at all because they just kept talking and it was hard to get the conversation back to the social interaction we were trying to have. So it's completely different.
Do you find that there's a correlation there between, like 30 years ago in Australia, we used to walk outside and we used to have a chat with our neighbours. Yeah. And we were very friendly. We knew what our neighbours were doing, and we had more time for people. Obviously, technology has taken over from that to a degree. But do you find that there's a lot of that throughout Europe where you currently are, more so than in Australia, that neighbourly love type thing and people looking out for each other?
Absolutely. Massively different in every front. You go to the coffee shop more than a few times and they'll recognise you and start asking after you and wondering where you were if you're missing. Because people do that stuff. They go down at 10 o'clock in the morning and have coffee and a beer. And they have shots of alcohol in their coffee. And so people notice they're moving, they're coming over. Every element of life is like that. Every element of life over here. And this is Southern Europe. I can't speak for Northern Europe.
Would it be fair to say that, you know, it wasn't a criticism of here, but it was probably more to do, is it fair to say, with the world you lived in rather than, you know, the place being Brisbane? So
both.
hustle, yeah.
Both.
So if you're living, I suppose the question is, if you had been living the lifestyle you're living now, say in a country town in central Queensland, you'd have a different outlook, I guess.
I would have the same. So if I was in Brisbane, a country town's a different story, I think, to the cities. But if I was living in Brisbane now, I would still have probably as much contact as a stranger, you know, walking into a coffee shop and seeing a stranger in a coffee shop. But as someone who is from Brisbane, I had people when I was there for 4 months who couldn't find time to catch up with me, knowing that I was going to go again. People just don't put it as a priority. They do not put it as a priority. Simple as that. Their work comes first. They're running their kids to 20 million things, which I did the same. I'm not criticising, because I did exactly the same, getting your kids to 1 million events. Whereas for them, it's the family do it. They do it as a family unit. People with children, sometimes Nonna takes them, or grandpa, grandma, or whatever. You know, it's all organised in groups. But what I noticed was that if you walk down the street, it still does happen here in the cities. If you walk through a city like Malaga, people are walking along on their phones or whatever. But when I walked into Brisbane and Melbourne, I threw back with it. That no one talks to one another. They have silent carriages on the trains, because it's an interruption to us to have to want to talk to us. You know, God forbid that you'd actually talk to someone on a train and actually be friendly and sociable. No, we want to stick our headphones in and read a book. And I understand that people want some quiet time. Isn't it sad that the only quiet time they can get is on a train? You know, like, it used to be my time when I caught a train to go to work to actually talk to some people, and I saw the same people and would say good morning and have a morning chat with them. Now, I understand there's different people and different horses for different courses, but I'm just saying they do not have quiet carriages over here. It just doesn't. I don't think it would even register that they want them. It's not that some people don't sit with headphones in. It's just a completely different thing. The priority is family and friends over the job and the income. And everybody complains over here, the tourists, that, you know, the Spanish people are slow to respond. They say they're going to get there tomorrow and they won't get there for 4 days. Well, because a friend called them and needed them and they wanted to go over here and they just decided not to work and they turn up later. And that's a real annoyance when you want them to turn up. But it's that priority that they put over it. It kind of makes them the lifestyle that is endearing. And I hope they don't lose that.
Mel, who's got it right and who's got it wrong? I know I've cast in my opinion, but because I've been where you are and just hearing what you've got to say, but I'd be interested to hear what you've got to say with regards to what your opinion is of who's right and who's wrong. They got it right?
They have things that are wrong. Like I don't think they live a perfect lifestyle, in my opinion. Who am I to judge? But, you know, there's not everything perfect. Having said that, in my opinion, the way Australian society is completely wrong. I can't, and I'm not saying every element of it, obviously, and I'm not saying it's the individuals choosing that. It's the way it has been structured. You think about how unnatural it is. It's completely unnatural. We're all living in little grey and fawn boxes in office cubicles with things up so that we don't interact with one another. Our priority is always over income and financial future and things to fill a hole. You know, we want all these possessions. We want to have a bigger house. We don't need it. When you come over to Europe, even if you're in England, when you look at the size of the housing they live in, because it's so darn expensive, you realise how small a space you need to live in. But in Australia, we've got to have a 6-bedroom home for 3 people, just in case someone visits us one day. But we're actually not social enough to have someone come and visit us one day. So we always have the spare room full of stuff, which means that then we have to work more to pay off all the stuff. and it's filling a void. It's filling, we're so scared of having some space to breathe, some space just to be ourselves, some space just to get inside our own head, some space just to relax. And we're scared of being bored.
That mentality is a mentality that is really gaining traction, I've noticed. A real minimalist mentality, and it's something that I've jumped on board with and started to research a hell of a lot more. And actually, I can honestly say I've started to incorporate a little bit more as well, to a degree, but it's a work in progress. That whole minimalistic type mentality, you don't need more to be happy. Sorry, I don't mean to cut off.
Yeah, you need less. You need less to be happy. Like, seriously.
Absolutely. We seem to be talking about the environment. I still think it's incumbent on the individual to do something about it. And you talk about priorities, and I mean, then I just had 6 months off, as you know, and I just started working again now. So I semi-retired, if you like, and my life changed. I mean, people that I was not so much mixing with, but spending most of my time with, I all of a sudden prioritised, because I had a semi-retired mentality. I wanted to spend time with the people I want to spend time with.
Yeah.
And those who didn't, like, I wouldn't have, when you said, someone you've been trying to catch up with someone for 2 months, sorry, they're cut.
Yeah.
They're now part of they can come back in if they make the effort.
But I don't make the effort for them anymore. Mm-hmm.
So like anything, I guess, if each individual did their part, it would make the environment better.
I agree, but there's also a structural thing, and en masse, we have to deal with the structural stuff, because it's easy to say, well, we should all give family or friends our priority, but having lived in the shoes of being a single parent with no financial support, you do what you need to do to raise your kid, and suddenly you're working 60 hours a week, which is ridiculous, which is a ridiculous concept, that you don't have enough time to spend with your child because you have to work so many hours to support that child, when the most thing that they want is to be with their parent. I mean, it's a ridiculous concept. But individually, I could say, I want to stop working and look after my child, but how the heck can you? And when there's a societal thing that says that if you don't turn up to school with a laptop, your child is going to be disadvantaged. Society puts a certain amount of those structures in place that we have to abide by. I do agree, though, that there is a lot that individuals can do. And I also think that the collective action of the individuals is to change that. We've got to say, this is not serving us. Look how sick Australians are. We are the second highest nation for obesity in the world. Like, for God's sake. Supposedly, everybody went around saying, we thought you were a sporting nation. I went, yeah, we do sport on the side when we get time. But 10 hours a day, we're sitting either in a car or at work. We're not actually active.
The problem that I've noticed as a culture, what we're starting to embrace is still an industrial, actually it's not even an industrial age mentality, because majority of them were factory workers. I think that a lot of people, on two accounts, they get busy and productive mixed up, and they wear busy as a badge of honour. I've done a 60-hour week.
Yep.
And they expect everyone to give them a pat on the back because they've worked 60 hours a week because they've been busy. And I always say, have you been busy or productive? Because there's a massive difference between the two.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the thing is, if you're working 60 hours a week, you're out of balance. You may be earning more money, but you'll be out of balance. So something's got to give, whether that's your spiritual side, whether that's your family, whether that's your friends, whether that's there's your health, your fitness. Something's in that circle of those quadrants has to give, because there's only 24 hours in a day. And what we do is we tend to go, I haven't got time. I want to catch up with you, but I haven't got time because I'm working a 60-hour week.
Yeah. And we applaud. The other thing is that it's a double-edged sword, that there's both a whammy. One is we applaud the busy, and we disdain. We disdain. We do.
No, because I don't. personally, if someone turns around to me and they say, I'm really, really busy, I'm working 60, 70 hours a week, I go, my mentality is you haven't got your
But
shit
society
together.
doesn't. Society doesn't. It applauds the busy, and it disdains the quiet. So what I find is that people go, but what do you do? Well,
Yeah,
I don't do paid work, and they label me for that because, but don't you do anything real? Well, yes, I think I provide impact in the world. I do things, but what about the fact that you're not flat out? So there's disdain for the not busy. So there's not only applaud on the societal level, we applaud the busy, and we also say to people, what, you only work 20 hours a week? Oh, it's a tough life for you.
I think in the next 2 decades, perception will change because people will slowly work out that 60 to 70 hours a week or anything above 40 hours a week, it's not sustainable to have balance in your life. And it's not a quality of life. And before you know it, you're laying on your deathbed and you're going, wow, where did all those years go? Where did that time go? Whereas if someone's working 20, 30 hours a week, but they're happy, you've got your life.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I think coming back to the individual, Mel, coming back to your situation, you're burnt out before you left. You might have been doing your 60 or 70 hours a week and going round and round and round and getting nowhere. Say another person could be doing 60 or 70 hours a week with a means to an end, saying, well, I'm going to do 60 or 70 hours a week for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
And I'm going to buy another investment.
But me too. Me too. It just kept dragging out for another year. There was another goal. There was another house. There was another reno needed. Then my son got busy, and then this happened, and then I bought this, and then once I get this business established, I'll just get this business established, 12 months of hard work, and then I can ease back and let it. But then this legal issue happens, or this happens, or this happens. So then we've got to do it for another year and another year and another year, and it rolls out. So yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. So yeah, all of that, I think, so leaving all of that behind. I think the other thing, the really big thing that I have left behind, not that it was a biggie for me, but it was in the back of my head, and I see it everywhere in Australia, so I want to mention it, is the fear of other cultures. You know, we hear all the time, and while I'm not someone who likes to believe particularly the media hype on what other cultures are like and what they do, people said to me all the time, Mel, you're a feminist. Imagine what you're going to be like when you hit Italy and come across the Italian men and what they're going to do to you, and they're going to grope you, and they're going to do this and this and this. So from that perspective, there was a fear of the culture from that for me. And I got here and went, they don't do that at all. They actually don't do that at all. I don't know what you're talking about. They just don't do it. They certainly walk up and say hello. They certainly eye you up and down, same as Australian men do. The difference is that when they actually get up close to you, they stop eyeing you up and down. They look you in the eyes, which is really kind of nice. And they say, ciao, Bella. And you go, ciao. And they move on. So, it didn't happen. But there's this thing about Latino men. So whether it's that or, the fact that this culture's like this or this culture's like that. And, but when I said, I went into Albania, is it safe for you to go into Albania? From men and women all the time, is it safe? I sounded great. I don't know. I don't know. So I'm glad I left that behind. The more I travel, and I still have places where I go, do you think it's okay for me to go to Morocco on my own? I still don't know until I get there. So it's a piece by piece thing. I'm not saying it's completely gone, but I'm glad it's evolving away. So they're the things I would say I'm really glad I left behind.
Yep.
So what do I have now that I wouldn't want to give up? Ugh, so much. Clumping together fun, freedom, challenge and variety, like just the whole, the stuff. The really incredible social interactions in the world, like just to have days. I did a post and I can't even remember. I think, did I send it through to you guys? About, just the sheer differences and the awesomeness of the people that I met, apart from just having the social interactions all day, which is great. But then, you know, when you're talking to an Italian, middle-aged Italian man who lives half his time in Portugal learning to busk and flamenco guitar in the same day that you're talking to a young guy from Sicily who you meet in a hostel who spends 4 months of the year making leather work down on the beach, earning enough money so he can travel the rest of the year. And then you're talking to a woman who's from Germany on holidays for 4 months or something, and she's going to backpack through and hitchhike through Spain to get up through here, and another guy who's interested to row from Spain to Italy, you know, and you're just going, oh my God, like in one day I spoke to all these different, there was like 8 or 10 different people, and you go, wow, the breadth of seeing people live differently is awesome. Just a difference. All are beautiful sites. I mean, it's different. I mean, Australia has beautiful sites too. We just ignore them because we got used to them. So looking around more. I think I have a lot more love of people. I think I genuinely like people more because I'm not caught up in all the crap. I'm not caught up in the politics, and I'm not caught up in the office politics, and I'm not caught up in the dramas of everything in the countries. They may still happen. I'm just not involved in them. So I get to interact with people in the moment on what's going on in the world. And sometimes that's horrible for them. I'm dealing with people with traumas and issues and all of that, but I still, you know, feel more genuine love and care for them. And animals, you know, just getting used to, you know, dogs that I thought I wouldn't like because of their breed, loved them. So, you know, just once again, taking away my own fears and stereotypes on that. What else? A peace for myself. Peacefulness, a lot more inner peace and calm and joy. We've talked about that before, just a much more, a huge amount of joy.
Not having to answer emails, not having to answer phone calls, not having to text someone back, not having to. So I remember when I went
and
through.
I still do, especially on WhatsApp. But go on, yeah.
I went through my business phase, and you don't realise how many emails and texts and calls you have to make in order for your business to grow.
Yeah.
But now that I've really scaled that back with my business, and I've become more of a consultant now rather than a business owner, I really, really enjoy refreshing my page and no emails come up, or
you know my private email.
No, not private. So business emails. Yeah, I'm stipulating business emails.
Yeah.
I don't miss that. No. I don't miss that, knowing that 30 emails have come in, and you're like, wow, I only cleared that an hour ago. Yeah. So it's having that for me, because you mentioned that previously as well, and I'm like, that's something that's pretty attractive.
So when you say you do that, Mel, you mean socially too.
Yeah, and there is the element of the choice. I mean, there is still a certain amount I have to do. I have to apply for pet sits, and I have to respond to those and things like that, but nothing like what you're talking about. I totally get what you're saying. And the difference is, you know, there's social messages that you can say, oh, well, I'll get back to that person. It's a friend that's contacting you, or Facebook Messenger or whatever. But yeah, I mean, people used to message me. We used to have a bit of a running joke in the gym because I went to bed so early because I had to get up so early. And I said to people, you know, I am in this gym 12 to 14 hours a day for you to contact. Outside of that, leave me alone. Leave it until tomorrow, till I'm back in the gym. And I said, and if you text me when you get home, and people would, at 10 o'clock and at midnight, they'd send me a message saying, oh, Mel, in the morning, just so I don't forget, can you remember to da-da-da-da-da in the morning? And I said, if you do that to me, I will text you when I wake up, which was at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'd text them back and say, how about you talk to me when you get to the gym? But it would wake them up. And I go, surprise, surprise. Because when someone texts you at 12 o'clock to ask you to remember to do something for them, you have to get up and write it in a diary or do something. And I said, so you just write it in your diary and not leave me to have to do that. So yeah, so all of that sort of stuff where you're feeling, and look, I look back on it now, and I remember just sitting in the car on hands-free, just talking constantly with my son sitting beside me. It wasn't time to spend with him sitting in the car. It was constantly on the phone dealing with sales calls and business calls and all of that sort of stuff. So totally get you. Yes, not having to deal with that is massive. And for me, of course, my son is here. My son is in Europe. So being closer to him and getting to see him perform is a massive, massive plus. I go there next week to see him in Don Quixote. I'm very excited. So yeah, getting to do that is amazing. Yeah, it's life-changing. So that's awesome. Yeah, so they're the main things. Did you have any other questions around that?
I think so. We'll try this one. So
we'll wrap up. If so, is there anything else on that particular topic that you want to ask me?
Is that relevant?
Well,
we believe it is.
Yeah. If it is, go for it. If it is, go for it. Go.
Yeah. I've got here, if you had to describe your overall mood from week to week, would you be able to document easily what causes the inevitable ups and downs of daily life?
Yeah.
So you said you're there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. Document. Yes and no. I mean, it's really weird, and I sound like some weird person, I think. So obviously, most of my days are good, happy, relaxed. Comfortably busy. Like I always have stuff to do. I've been running around all morning getting sorted to talk to you guys. But it's not that frantic busy. Anything through to downright joy and happiness. So they're my good moods. It's in terms of when I have them and those really high highs. Well, I was trying to think about the other day because someone else asked me, when do you feel this incredible joy? There's certainly some triggers for that. Music is big still. And seeing something beautiful where you just go, oh my goodness, like pinch me, like, what am I doing? Like this is nuts. So there's those sorts of things. But also a really strong connection with a person. I'll sit and chat with someone, whether it be for 5 minutes, and just come away going, oh, that was awesome. Like that's just understanding the breadth of that is awesome for me. Nature, when I'm just sitting, listening to the birds chirp, all of that sort of stuff. But it can be really random, and I don't know whether I mentioned to you before or after we chatted last time. I was walking down the street and I was listening to a song, an Australian song, Xavier Rudd actually, and I was trying to practice the words. So I'm walking down the street singing, as you do in Portugal, with random strangers around you, walking down the street singing, listening to the song, singing, trying to learn the words, and I'm singing. And I was walking on a street, I was trying to get home, walking on the street parallel to the beach. I thought it ran parallel to the beach the whole way, and I just had to walk this one street home. And I was so caught up and excited, and I loved the song, and so I was singing along, and I'm singing it at full voice. And as I'm singing, I'm getting more and more joyous, and I just was on top of the world, and I'm just walking along singing for some random reason. I'd had a nice day, sure, but no better or worse than any other. And then the road actually went like that, and I'm just singing along, and all of a sudden, and because I kept replaying it and singing it, and then I looked up and went, I can't see the beach. Where am I? And I'm trying to look at Google's map. Google Maps doesn't work very well in Spain and Portugal, by the way. And I'm going, it's not telling me anything. I'm just going to have to randomly try and find my way back around. And it took me an extra half an hour, 45 minutes to get home because I got lost because I was so caught up in the moment of this joy, just singing. And then went, I figured out how to get home.
Feel go through your veins.
Oh, absolutely.
I know.
I can feel it.
I know a lot of people don't
in my heart.
experience it like that. But for me, when I listen to music, it can be an instant mood changer.
It's a mood meter, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
It's an anchor.
And I can actually.
It's a mood anchor in psychological terms. It's a mood anchor. We have many of them. Because if you hear a song that makes you miserable too, because it's associated with a past event, it can take you in the opposite direction just as easily. It's a sad song associated with a breakup or a death or something.
So I think it's fair to say we've established that you have more highs than you have lows.
Yeah. So the lows, the only. Sorry.
Yeah. So I think let me rephrase the low part of the question. When was the last time you had a day when you just you just fell off? You're not sick or whatever, but something was dragging you down.
Are you saying like a contemplation of, am I doing the right question yourself?
No. Just something.
Something dragged you down. What I've discovered.
You didn't get some bad news.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if I had bad family news or something, but that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cold, the wind, the rain affects me for sure. I mean, a day of it, no problems. But I think when we last spoke, where I was, it was 2 weeks of it, and I was trapped inside, and I just am going, you know, I don't have a car, so I'm just stuck in a house, and it's cold and it's wind and it's rain, and I'm going, oh, for God's sake, get me out of here. Like, I used it really productively. I got a lot of stuff done with videos and with stuff like that, and I used it productively, but I'm not floating around in the moon on those days when it drags out. I'm like, I just want this to be over. I want the sunshine on me. I just, you know, if I'm stuck, and it literally rained 13 days out of 14, I think, and it was cold and windy and horrible. So that I know affects me, that weather thing affects me. And I don't feel, I wouldn't say I get down over it. I certainly have days where I've gone into pet sits that have been, where the people have been miserable. And I'm talking about a miserableness of spirit and kindness, and the house is dirty, and I'm treated like I'm a servant there, and you kind of just go, why did I bother with this one? And I shrug it off pretty quickly and go, once they're gone, I'm gone, thank God. I'll just go back. When I'm with them, I just feel like wanting to slap them around the ears. And then when they're gone, I go, okay, what am I going to make? I'm just not going to spend a lot of time in this house or do other things, and I'm fine when I'm out. But
closer to the pet?
Sometimes, yeah, because sometimes I look at them, because I feel like sometimes I pick up a spirit of the pet, and I go, you poor big bastard living in this all the time. Yeah, I can tell. You know, I can tell that they don't give you a lot of respect either. You know, yeah, it can make me close to the pet. So, yeah, that frustrations with stingy people, non-generous spirits, makes me go, surprisingly, generally, frustrations that happen to me outside traveling, like, you know, if the bus is late by 2 hours, and I think I've now put that into a category of, this is part of my life and my challenge. So I think it's how you categorize stuff. And so, you know, for me, it's just, oh, okay, how am I going to wing my way around this one? What happened? How do I do that? And so it doesn't really bother me very much. Whereas I know people who are on a holiday on a schedule, that it really frustrates them no end. So that's tough.
The book that I read that said, it's called The Celestine Prophecy, and it says that there's no such thing as a coincidence. So you could be sitting at the bus stop, the bus is 2 hours late. This is the universe's way of putting this in front of you for some specific reason. Do you sometimes, now with your new mentality over the last 24 months, consider that there's an opportunity here? This is happening for a reason. So
yes,
what I do now is I'm on the lookout for what signs are coming in, what people are coming in, why is there an email, or is there something there that's a trigger that the universe is sending me because this time is meant to now be free? You know, do you look at it from that perspective at times?
Absolutely, all of the time, every single time. And even when the cold, rainy, miserable days, you know, while I don't love it, I know it affects my mood not being out in the sun. But I kind of go, okay, I needed to catch up on work. And you know, it's been really interesting. I am a little bit at the moment, I'm overdone. I have too many sits. Normally I kind of like a couple of weeks sits, and some interspersed with a week. I have lived, I think, in 11 different houses or locations this year so far in 7 weeks. That is too much. I'm tired of moving all of the time. And here, you know, it's a great house. I'd love to stay here. And I'm here for like 5 days. Fairly, you know, I just want to settle in. I've still got this I wanted to see down the road. And I go out and see those things down the road, but then I don't have my days just to chill out and do nothing. And now going, so now I'm like a holiday maker. Now I'm too tired because I'm rushing to fit things in, and it's tiring. So it was really good for me to actually have those 2 weeks, because I caught up on, I got all my banking done, and I got videos sorted, and I got my website sorted, and all of those things. So now I'm not thinking about those, that I haven't had those. I've got another week and a half, and then I'm in some sits for 2 and 3 weeks again, and thank goodness. So, you know, I just overcooked it a little bit in terms of the schedule, which is just the way it worked out. But yeah, I mean, and I know, thank goodness that worked out that way, because I would have been sitting, if that had been fine weather, I would have been sitting down the beach every day and I wouldn't have got that done, and I'd be really struggling to fit everything in now. So exactly that, all of the time. And I don't think, you know, even the stuff that really frustrates me, I don't dwell in it. And I think that's one of the key things. When I'm up, it's most of the time, and then there's this joyously up, which still carries up a fair amount of my time. And then there's a down, but it's a surfacey down. You know, it's not a deep, dark place. It's more dark when I'm caught in the weather, but it's just this like, oh, it's an inconvenience. It's not as frustrated as I used to feel about spending on 3 hours on the phone to Telstra before. You know, is my down. That's more down than my down.
All of those examples that you gave us were external things that you got no control over anyway.
And that's just it. Even the good stuff, I don't think I have control over. So, yeah, and just a bit of tiredness. You know, if I'm overtired, I'm a cranky bugger when I'm a bit tired. So, you know, just being a little bit overtired. You know, and I suppose some days, all of it I look at and go, the things that I get a bit down about, I did before. So if I kind of go, oh, you know, I miss not having my friends around. I miss not having them around in Brisbane. I was so busy working and they're so busy working, I didn't spend time with them. So that hasn't really changed. In fact, now I go, it's been really cool. Yesterday I, you know, went back. I spent an hour and a half or so on buses to go and visit some friends on the other side of Malaga, because I catch them on the way through, and then I've got a friend, you know, popping in for a visit this week. And so it's nice. It's nice that I've got this little network of people that because in Spain and Portugal they don't work so many hours, and so you can just go and meet them for lunch, because they have a 2 or 3 hour siesta for lunch every day. Every day they have 2 to 3 hours off for lunch. You can always catch them for lunch, and you can catch them at 10 o'clock at night, because they have dinner at 9 or 10 o'clock at night every day. So, and they usually have it with friends. They don't normally have it in their homes. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
I think that's great.
Perfect, Mel. Thank you so much for answering that question. It was a little bit longer than we had anticipated, but you dotted every I and crossed every T. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Cool. Thanks, guys.